The Beggar opera. Written by Mr. Gay, to which is prefaced the music to each song. Decoration. Music Novum Assessed Nailed. Ort. London, William Hyman, 1921. To J, G, and to GLF, without whom I should have been powerless, do I dedicate my share in this book. GLF. Out. The text here given is taken from the edition of 1765. The scenes have been renumbered in the modern method denoting actual changes of place or intervals of time. First published September 1921. New impression October 1921. That when I died this word may stand for me. He had a heart to praise, and eye to see, and beauty was his king. Dead at the age of 31 after a sudden operation, Claude Lovett Fraser was as surely a victim of the war as though he had fallen in action. He was full of vigor for his work, but shell-shock had left him with a heart that could not stand a strain of this kind, and all his own fine courage could not help the surgeons in a losing fight. We are not sorry for him, we learn that, not to be sorry for the dead, but for ourselves. This terror is always so fresh, so unexampled. I had telephoned to him to ask whether he would help me in a certain theatrical enterprise. I was told by his servant that he was ill, but one hears these things so often that one gave but little thought to it beyond sending a telegram asking for news and know this. Personal griefs are of no public interest, but here is as sad a public loss as has befallen us, if the world can measure truly in our generation. But it is not, I think, of our loss that we should speak now. These desolations, strangely, have a way of bringing their own fortitude. A few hours after hearing, without any warning, of Lovett Fraser's death, I was walking on an English landscape that he loved so well, and felt how poor and inadequate a thing death really was, how little to be feared. His apparent intention to destroy a life and genius so young, so admirable, and so rich in promise seemed, for all the hurt, in some way wholly to have failed. We all knew that, given health, the next 10 years would show a splendid volume of work from the new power and understanding to which he had been coming in these later days. But just as it seems to me not the occasion to lament our own loss, so does it seem idle to speculate with regret upon what art may have lost by this sudden stroke. It is rather well to be glad that so few years have borne so abundantly. Not only is the work that Lovett Fraser has left full in volume, it is decisive in character beyond all likelihood in one of his years. Greatly as he would have added to our delight, and wider as his influence would have grown, nothing he might have done could have added to our knowledge of the kind of distinction that was his and that will always mark his fame. The man himself had a charm of unusual definition. One might go to his studio at 5 o'clock and find him lumbering with his great frame among a castle of the rare and curious books that he loved, stacked pell-mell onto the shelves, littered on tables and the floor, his clothes and face and fingers streaked with paint. And then an hour or two later he would come dressed ready for the theater, an immaculate beau of the 50s, his top coat with waist and skirts, his opera hat made to special order by a Bond Street expert on an 1850 mat. And then, before setting off, he would talk of some fellow artist who was a little down and out, and wonder whether some of his drawings might not be but at a few guineas apiece. And to book, as it were, such an order gave salt to his evening, and if the evening meant contact with some of his own exquisite work, a word of admiration was taken with that wistful gratitude that it is now almost unbearable to remember. The theater is a complex, cooperative affair, and it is idle to inquire who gives more than another to it. But on one side of its effort nobody in these later years has fought for light and beauty more surely and courageously than Claude Lovett Fraser. Like every fine artist, he was sometimes a little puzzled, a little hurt, that the critics could not see the clear motives inspiring his work. But the purpose never faltered. As You Like It, the Beggar's opera, if the exquisite designs for Madame Perseverance later believes these made it plain enough that a new genius of extraordinary power and fertility was at work on the stage. With a knowledge of tradition that combined the widest learning with profound intuition, Lovett Fraser and his design touched the life of 500 years with the English spirit of our own time, with a certainty that every one of his colleagues, I know, will be proud to allow was beyond them all. The fertility of which I speak was perhaps his peculiar distinction, and it had no touch of common facility. He could not draw a line that was not hard with thought and rooted in imaginative decision. But he could invent with immense rapidity. It was the old, though rare, story. Like in his theater design and his tender landscape, beauty of spirit flowed in everything he did into beauty of execution. He was a man in whose presence everything mean or slipshod withered. But perhaps it is most fitting at this time that we should think of our dead friend in yet another way. We are governed by two influences, our own character and example. For each man his own character is for his meditation apart, but of example we may sometimes speak together in the open with profit. Those of us who live always striving towards creative effort believe passionately that the thing towards which we aim makes for all that is most chivalrous and most intelligent in life, that it is indeed the one true honesty in the world. And yet we know how easily that effort is beset by fears and jealousies and failure and generosity, how lightly we who should together give all our energy to the service of our art, waste it in little concerns of spite and self-interest. And it is in just such ways as this that great example may serve us nobly, and there has surely never lived an artist in whom such example more clearly shone. Art, which for him embraced and crystallized all that was brave and adventurous and tender, was the worship of love at Fraser's life, a worship which he kept with an absolute loyalty. It is my privilege to know most of the best artists in all kinds, of my age. One has this distinction, another that, but I think that he had the loveliest of them all. I have known nobody who brought to his art a devotion so pure and utterly removed from self-interest. If he could serve the beauty that he loved, he was eager always to do so with perfect indifference to his own reward. Nobody could be with him for 10 minutes without feeling that art was a thing far greater than any artist. He had the lovely, humorous humility that is the one sure sign of greatness. One felt always that if he should think that another might do given work better than he, there could be for him nothing but distress if the best was not done, even though it meant the loss of personal opportunity. But it is one of the happy things of genius that this exquisite humility can only live with great creative gifts, so that Lovett Fraser knew from day to day the supreme joy of mastery. The humility, however, is our example. And the thought that seems most worthy today is that he stands at this moment, for all he was younger than most of us, as a challenging leader to us all. It will, I think, always be impossible to remember him without feeling that anything mean or grudging in the spirit in which we do our work is a betrayal and an intolerable thing. With all his gaiety, his fun, his simplicities, and his powers, he showed us not only what a fine artist can do but what a fine artist can be. And under his leadership at this moment may we not go back to our work in the world with renewed courage and faith. For his fame none of us have any fear. There is in his public achievement and his portfolios a solid body of work that more and more must establish itself. However futile prophecy in these things must be, one is confident that 100 years hence his name will be highly honored among the little band who helped to bring back some life and truth to the English theater of this age. He would wish for nothing better than that. And idle though it is to ask what his death, at little more than youth, may mean in the way of loss to the art that he lived for. His friends know that as dear a life as any of our time has gone suddenly, inexplicably, taking with it the tenderest love of everyone who knew him. And he leaves with us an example without any stain. London, Midsummer 1921. The Beggar Opera. Note on the scene and costumes at the Lyric Theatre, Hammersmith. Superficially, the task of staging the Beggar's opera was one of supreme ease. Indeed, so easy was it that it became a matter of some embarrassment to prune and select the required amount of data. Here was Haworth and his actual scene of Newgate with Macheth in chains. Here was Laurent's Cries of London Falling in its edition of 1733 pad into the period. Here was the National Portrait Gallery, and added to these, here was the benefit of all Mr. Charles E. Pearce's research. After a month or two of work and designing, these became so marked and apparent that it engendered in me the beginnings of mistrust. Still, I persevered in scene and costume with historically accurate reproduction, and, until 3 weeks before the actual work was due to be carried out at the costumier's and in the painting shops, I felt comparatively cheerful. Then I reviewed my forces, the little scale models of the scenes, the characters in painted cardboard, all exact and accurate. Something was wrong, and the result was, I confess, appalling. I had not made allowances either for my theatre or for my audience. I had forgotten that it required a spacious Georgian theatre, the intimacy of the side boxes, the great personages sitting on the stage. The Duke of Bolton, Major Ponsfoot, and Sir Robert Fagg were not in their places as in Hogarth's painting. The pit would not be filled with tie-wigs and hoops, and there would be a sharper line of division between the actors and the spectators than ever existed in 1728. Something else had to be done. As reproduction was a failure, one would try to give an impression of the same thing. Impressionism proved even worse than accuracy. It was neither one thing nor the other. It merged into making a picture of it. A crime that is without parallel in the staging of a play. To make a pretty picture at the expense of drama is merely to pander to the veracity of the costumier and scene painter. Footnote 1: Polly Peachum and the Beggar's Opera, by Charles E. Pearce. Messrs. Stanley Paul Company, 1913. What was then to be done? Added to all these objections was the important fact that I had designed scenes that would have seriously hampered the resources at Hammersmith. A theatre would have required more space for storage than could possibly have been given, and, in addition, an army of stage hands would be wanted for whom there was not in this little theatre the accommodation. The solution was, of course, to forget one's past work, to scrap the models, and to start feverishly afresh. The only method left untried was the symbolic. That is to say, to hint at the 18th century and to suggest that through the doors on the stage existed the London of 1728. The scene demanded to be simple, and one which, with slight modifications in doors and windows, remained before the audience for the whole action of the play. It was, therefore, to be a scene of which people did not easily tire, and that remained interesting, unobtrusive, and formally neat. To find such a scene it is necessary to refer back to days when the comic and the tragic scenes were architectural and permanent. This I did, and taking Paulletti's magnificent scene at Vicenza, by a shameless process of reductio ad absurdum, evolved the scene that is now in use at Hammersmith. Pauletti and Gay have much to forgive. So far the scene, but it called for a corresponding treatment in the dresses. In the Beggar's Opera no one is in the height of fashion. Macheth and certain ladies of the town alone keep company with lords and gentlemen. And even then there must have been apparent the distinction. Macheth is unaltered. Here it was essential to keep to tradition. My chef in a blue coat is unthinkable. The rest of the characters are frankly in the neighborhood of Newgate. The clothes of Peachum and Lockett would be as equally unfashionable and just as possible 30 years before as 30 years after 1728, whilst the footpads are clad in whatever Georgian rags that happen to come their way. With the women I have taken greater license. I have kept faithfully to the outlines of the age, the close-fitting bodice, the flat hoops, the squirted shoes. But I have taken considerable liberties in the manner in which I have shorn them of ribbons and laces, and for the sake of dramatic simplicity, be it remembered I have eliminated yards of trimming. Just so much explanation is, I consider, due to the public, but whether I have been justified by results or whether, under the sacred mask of drama, I have erred unpardonably are points which, so long as this revival draws attention to a forgotten masterpiece, can be of no very great importance. Chelsea, February 1921. Dramatis Person. Mr. Peachum Lockett Matcheth Filch Jimmy Twitcher Crookfinger Jack Watt Dreary Robin of Bagshot Matcheth's Gang. Naming Ned Harry Paddington Matt of the Mint Ben Budge Beggar Play. Mrs. Peachum Polly Peachum Lucy Lockett Diana Travis Mrs. Coaxer Dolly Troll Mrs. Vixen Betty Doxy Women of the Town. Jenny Diver Mrs. Slamikin Sookie Tawdry and Molly Brayson. Constables, drawers, turnkey, etc. Introduction. Beggar Player. If poverty be a title to poetry, I am sure nobody can dispute mine. I own myself of the company of beggars, and I make one at their weekly festivals at street guilds. I have a small yearly salary for my catches, and am welcome to a dinner there whenever I please, which is more than most poets can say. There. As we live by the muses, it is but gratitude in us to encourage poetical merit wherever we find it. The muses, contrary to all other ladies, pay no distinction to dress, and never partially mistake the pertness of embroidery for wit, nor the modesty of want for dullness. Be the author who he will, we push his play as far as it will go. So though you are in want, I wish you success heartily. Peter. This piece I own was originally writ for the celebrating the marriage of James Chaunter and Molly, two most excellent ballad singers. I have introduced the similes that are in all your celebrated operas: the swallow, the moth, the bee, the ship, the flower. See, besides, I have a prison scent which the ladies always reckon charmingly pathetic. As to the parts, I have observed such a nice impartiality to our two ladies, that it is impossible for either of them to take offense. I hope I may be forgiven that I have not made my opera throughout a natural, like those in vogue, for I have no recitative excepting this, as I have consented to have neither prologue nor epilogue. It must be allowed an opera in all its forms. The piece indeed hath been heretofore frequently represented by ourselves in our great room at Street Gillis, so that I cannot too often acknowledge your charity in bringing it now on the stage. There. But I see it is time for us to withdraw. The actors are preparing to begin. Play away the overture. Make sound. Overture. Act I, Scene I. In Peachum's house. Peachum sitting at a table with a large book of accounts before him. There I, an old woman clothed in grey, see. Through all the employments of life each neighbor abuses his brother. Whore and rogue they call husband and wife. All professions burger one another. The priest calls the lawyer a cheat. The lawyer benaves the divine, and the statesman, because he's so great, thinks his trade as honest as mine. A lawyer is an honest employment, so is mine. Like me too, he acts in a double capacity, both against rogues and for 'em, for 'tis but fitting that we should protect and encourage cheats, since we live by them. Enter Filch. Filch. Sir, Black Moll hath sent word her trial comes on in the afternoon, and she hopes you will order matters so as to bring her off. Peachum. As the wench is very active and industrious, you may satisfy her that I'll soften the evidence. Filch. John Gay, sir, is found guilty. Peachum. A lazy dog. When I took him the time before, I told him what he would come to if he did not mend his hand. This is death without reprieve. I may venture to book him rates. For Tom Gag, £40. Let Betty Sly know that I'll save her from transportation, for I can get more by her staying in England. Filch. Betty hath brought more goods into our luck together than any 5 of the gang, and in truth, 'tis a pity to lose so good a customer. Peachum. If none of the gang take her off, she may, in the common course of business, live a 12-month longer. I love to let women escape. A good sportsman always lets the hen partridges fly, because the breed of the game depends upon them. Besides, here the law allows us no reward. There is nothing to be got by the death of women except our wives. Filch. Without dispute, she is a fine woman. 'Twas to her I was obliged for my education, and to say a bold word, she hath trained up more young fellas to the business than the gaming table. Peachum. Truly, Filch, thy observation is right. We undersurgeons are more beholden to women than all the professions besides. The bonny grey-eyed morn, see? Mercy. Filch. 'Tis woman that seduces all mankind. By her we first were taught the wheedling arts. Her very eyes can cheat when most she's kind. She tricks us of our money with our hearts. For her, like wolves by night we roam for prey, and practice every fraud to bribe her charms for suits of love, like law, are won by pay, and beauty must be feed into our arms. Peachum. But make haste to Newgate, boy, and let my friends know what I intend, for I love to make them easy one way or other. Filch. When a gentleman is long kept in suspense, penitence may break his spirit ever after. Besides, certainty gives a man a good air upon his trial, and makes him risk another without fear or scruple. But I'll away, for 'tis a pleasure to be the messenger of comfort to friends in affliction. Exit Filch. Peachum. But 'tis now high time to look about me for a decent execution against next sessions. I hate a lazy rogue, by whom one can get nothing till he is hanged. A register of the gang, rating. Crook-fingered Jack. A year and a half in the service. Let me see how much the stock goes to his industry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gold watches, and 7 silver ones. A mighty clean-handed fellow. 16 snuff boxes, 5 of them of true gold. 6 dozen of handkerchiefs, 4 silver-hilted swords, half a dozen of shirts, 3 tight periwigs, and a piece of broadcloth. Considering these are only the fruits of his leisure hours, I don't know a prettier fellow, for no man alive hath a more engaging presence of mind upon the road. What dreary, Elias Brownwill, an irregular dog, who hath an underhand way of disposing of his goods. I'll try him only for a sessions or 2 longer upon his good behavior. Harry Paddington, a poor petty larceny rascal, without the least genius. That fellow, though he were to lie these 6 months, will never come to the gallows with any credit. Slippery Sam, he goes off the next sessions, for the villain hath an impudence to have views of following his trade as a tailor, which he calls an honest employment. That of the mint listed not above a month ago, a promising sturdy fellow, and diligent in his way, somewhat too bold and hasty, and may raise good contributions on the public, if he does not cut himself short by murder. Tom Tipple, a guzzling soaking sod, who is always too drunk to stand himself, or to make others stand. A cart is absolutely necessary for him. Bobbin of Bagshot, alias Gorgon, alias Bluff Bob, alias Carbuncle, alias Bob Booty. Enter Mrs. Peachum. Mrs. Peachum. What of Bob Booty, husband? I hope nothing bad hath beheaded him. You know, my dear, he's a favorite customer of mine. 'Twas he made me a present of this ring. Peachum. I have set his name down in the blacklist, that's all, my dear. He spends his life among women, and as soon as his money is gone, one or other of the ladies will hang him for the reward, and there's £40 lost to us forever. Mrs. Peachum. You know, my dear, I never meddle in matters of death. I always leave those affairs to you. Women indeed are bitter bad judges in these cases, for they are so partial to the brave that they think every man handsome who is going to the camp or the gallows. Hey! Cold and raw, see? Music. If any wench Venice skirt'll wear, though she be never so ugly, lilies and roses will quickly appear, and her face look wondrous snugly. Beneath the left ear so fit but a cord, a rope so charming as own is. The youth in his court hath the air of a lord, and we cry, there dies an Adonis. But really, husband, you should not be too hard-hearted, for you never had a finer, braver set of men than at present. We have not had a murder among them all, these 7 months. And truly, my dear, that is a great blessing. Peachum. What a dickens is the woman always a-whimpering about murder for? No gentleman is ever looked upon the worse for killing a man in his own defense, and if business cannot be carried on without it, what would you have a gentleman do? Mrs. Peachum. If I am in the wrong, my dear, you must excuse me, for nobody can help the frailty of an over-scrupulous conscience. Peachum. Murder is as fashionable a crime as a man can be guilty of. How many fine gentlemen have we in Newgate every year purely upon that article? If they have wherewithal to persuade the jury to bring it in manslaughter, what are they the worse for it? So, my dear, have done upon this subject. Was Captain Matchett here this morning for the banknotes he left with you last week? Mrs. Peachum. Yes, my dear, and though the bank hath stopped payment, he was so cheerful and so agreeable. Sure there is not a finer gentleman upon the road than the captain. If he comes from Bagshot at any reasonable hour, he hath promised to make one this evening with Polly and me, and Bob Booty at a party of quadrille. Pray, my dear, is the captain rich? Peachum. The captain keeps too good company ever to grow rich. Moribund and the chocolate houses are his undoing. The man that proposes to get money by play should have the education of a fine gentleman, and be trained up to it from his youth. Mrs. Peachum. Really, I am sorry upon Polly's account the captain hath not more discretion. What business hath he to keep company with lords and gentlemen? He should leave them to prey upon one another. Peachum. Upon Polly's account. What, a plague, does the woman mean? Upon Polly's account. Mrs. Peachum. Captain Matchett is very fond of the girl. Peachum. And what then? Mrs. Peachum. If I have any skill in the ways of women, I am sure Polly thinks him a very pretty man. Peachum. And what then? You would not be so mad to have the wench marry him. Gamesters and highwaymen are generally very good to their whores, but they are very devils to their wives. Mrs. Peachum. But if Polly should be in love, how should we help her, or how can she help herself? Poor girl, I am in the utmost concern about her. Why is your faithful slave disdained? D. Mercy. If love the virgin's heart invade, how, like a moth, the simple maid still plays about the flame. If soon she be not made a wife, her honor singed, and then for life she's what I dare not name. Peachum. Okay, wife. A handsome wench in our way of business is as profitable as at the bar of a temple coffee-house, who looks upon it as her livelihood to grant every liberty but one. You see, I would indulge the girl as far as prudently we can. In anything but marriage. After that, my dear, how shall we be safe? Are we not then in her husband's power? For a husband hath the absolute power over all a wife's secrets but her own. If the girl had the discretion of a court lady, who can have a dozen young fellows at her ear without complying with one, I should not matter it but Polly is tinder, and a spark will at once set her on a flame. If the wench does not know her own profit, sure she knows her own pleasure better than to make herself a property. My daughter to me should be, like a court lady to a minister of state, a key to the whole gang. If the affair is not already done, I'll terrify her from it, by the example of our neighbors. Mrs. Peachum. Mayhap, my dear, you may injure the girl. She loves to imitate the fine ladies, and she may only allow the captain liberties in the view of interest. Peachum. But 'tis your duty, my dear, to warn the girl against her ruin, and to instruct her how to make the most of her beauty. I'll go to her this moment, and sift her. In the meantime, wife, rip out the coronets and marks of these dozen of cambric handkerchiefs, for I can dispose of them this afternoon to a chap in the city. Exit Peachum. Mrs. Peachum. Never was a man more out of the way in an argument than my husband. Why must our Polly, forsooth, differ from her sex, and love only her husband? And why must Polly's marriage, contrary to all observations, make her the less followed by other men? All men are thieves in love, and like a woman the better for being another's property. Hervey, of all the simple things we do, see. A maid is like the golden ore, which hath guineas intrinsical in, whose worth is never known before it is tried and impressed in the mint. A wife's like a guinea in gold, stamped with the name of her spouse now here, now there is bought, or is sold and is current in every house. Enter Filch. Mrs. Peachum. Come hither, Filch. I am as fond of this child, as though my mind misgave me he were my own. He hath as fine a hand at picking a pocket as a woman, and is as nimble-fingered as a juggler. If an unlucky session does not cut the rope of thy life, I pronounce, boy, thou wilt be a great man in history. Where was your post last night, my boy? Filch. I played at the opera, madam, and considering 'twas neither dark nor rainy, so that there was no great hurry in getting chairs and coaches, made a tolerable hand on't. These 7 handkerchiefs, madam. Mrs. Peachum. Colored ones, I see. They are of sure sale from our warehouse at Redriff among the seamen. Filch. And this snuff box. Mrs. Peachum. Set in gold! A pretty encouragement this to a young beginner. Filch. I had a fair tug at a charming gold watch. Pox take the tailors for making the faults so deep and narrow. It stuck by the way, and I was forced to make my escape under a coach. Really, madam, I fear I shall be cut off in the flower of my youth, so that every now and then since I was pumped I have thoughts of taking up and going to sea. Mrs. Peachum, you should go to Huckley in the Hole, and to Marybone, child, to learn valor. These are the schools that have bred so many brave men. I thought, boy, by this time thou hadst lost fear as well as shame. Poor lad! How little does he know as yet of the Old Bailey. For the first fact I'll insure thee from being hanged and going to sea filch will come time enough upon a sentence of transportation. But now since you have nothing better to do, even go to your book, and learn your catechism, for really a man makes but an ill figure in the ordinary's paper who cannot give a satisfactory answer to his questions. But, hark you, my lad, don't tell me a lie, for you know I hate a liar. Do you know of anything that hath passed between Captain Matcheth and our Polly? Vilch. I beg you, madam, don't ask me, for I must either tell a lie to you or to Miss Polly, for I promised her I would not tell. Mrs. Peachum. But when the honor of our family is concerned, Vilch, I shall lead a sad life with Miss Polly, if ever she comes to know that I told you. Besides, I would not willingly forfeit my own honor by betraying anybody. Mrs. Peachum. Yonder comes my husband and Polly. Come, Filch, you shall go with me into my own room, and tell me the whole story. I'll give thee a glass of a most delicious cordial that I keep for my own drinking. Enter Peachum, Polly. Polly. I know as well as any of the fine ladies how to make the most of myself and of my man too. A woman knows how to be mercenary, though she hath never been in a court or at an assembly. We have it in our natures, Papa. If I allow Captain Matcheth some trifling liberties, I have this watch and other visible marks of his favor to shew for it. A girl who cannot grant some things and refuse what is most material will make but a poor hand of her beauty, and soon be thrown upon the common. Have I? What shall I do to shew how much I love her? See. Mercy. Virgins are like the fair flower in its luster, which in the garden enamels the ground near it. The bees in play flutter and cluster, and gaudy butterflies frolic round. But, when once plucked, 'tis no longer alluring to Covent Garden, 'tis scent as yet sweet, that fades, and shrinks, and grows past all enduring, rots, stinks, and dies, and is trod under feet. Peachum. You know, Polly, I am not against your toying and trifling with a customer in the way of business, or to get out a secret, or so. But if I find out that you have played the fool and are married, you jade you, I'll cut your throat, hussy. Now you know my mind. Enter Mrs. Peachum in a very great passion. Have I? London is a fine town. Mercy. Our Polly is a sad slut. More hates what we have taught her. I wonder any man alive will ever rear a daughter. For she must have both hoods and gowns and hoops to swell her pride, with scarfs and stays, and gloves and lace, and she will have men beside, and when she's dressed with care and cost, all tempting, fine and gay, as men should serve a cucumber, she flings herself away. Our Polly is a sad slut. Ding. You bitch! You hussy! You inconsiderate jade! Had you been hanged, it would not have vexed me, for that might have been your misfortune, but to do such a mad thing by choice, the wench's married husband. Peachum. Bear it! The captain is a bold man, and will risk anything for money. To be sure, he believes her a fortune. Do you think your mother and I should have lived comfortably so long together, if ever we had been married? Aged! Mrs. Peachum. I knew she was always a proud slut, and now the wench hath played the fool unmarried, because forsooth she would do like the gentry. Can you support the expense of a husband, hussy, in gaming, drinking, and whoring? Have you money enough to carry on the daily quarrels of man and wife about who shall squander most? There are not many husbands and wives who can bear the charges of plaguing one another in a handsome way. If you must be married, could you introduce nobody into our family but a highwayman? Why, thou foolish jade, thou wilt be as illustrious, and as much neglected, as if thou hadst married a lord. Peachum. Let not your anger, my dear, break through the rules of decency, for the captain looks upon himself in the military capacity as a gentleman by his profession. Besides what he hath already, I know he is in a fair way of getting or of dying, and both these ways, let me tell you, are most excellent chances for a wife. Tell me, hussy, are you ruined or no? Mrs. Peachum. With Polly's fortune, she might very well have gone off to a person of distinction. Yes, that you might, you pouting slut. Peachum. What is the wench dumb? Speak, or I'll make you plead by squeezing out an answer from you. Are you really bound wife to him, or are you only upon liking? Pinches her. Polly. Oh! Screaming. Mrs. Peachum. How the mother is to be pitied who hath handsome daughters. Locks, bolts, bars, and lectures of morality are nothing to them, they break through them all. They have as much pleasure in cheating a father and mother as in cheating at cards. Peachum. Why, Polly, I shall soon know if you are married by Macheth's keeping from our house. Have I? Grim king of the ghosts, see? Polly. Can love be controlled by advice? Will Cupid our mothers obey? Though my heart were as frozen as ice, at his flame 'twould have melted away. When he kissed me so closely he pressed, 'twas so sweet that I must have complied, so I thought it both safest and best to marry, for fear you should chide. Mrs. Peachum. And all the hopes of our family are gone forever and ever. Peachum. And Macheth may hang his father and mother-in-law, in hope to get into their daughter's fortune. Polly. I did not marry him as 'tis the fashion, coolly and deliberately for honor or money. But I love him. Mrs. Peachum. Love him! Worse than worse. I thought the girl had been better bred. Oh, husband, husband! Her folly makes me mad! My head swims. I'm distracted. I can't support myself, oh. Faints. Peachum. See, wench, to what a condition you have reduced your poor mother. A glass of cordial, this instant. How the poor woman takes it to heart. Polly goes out, and returns with it. Ah, hussy, now this is the only comfort your mother has left. Polly. Give her another glass, sir. My mom drinks double the quantity whenever she is out of order. This, you see, fetches her. Mrs. Peachum. The girl shews such a readiness, and so much concern, that I could almost find in my heart to forgive her. Eric's. O Jenny, where hast thou been? Mercy. O Polly, you might have toyed and kissed. By keeping men off, you keep them on. Polly. But he so teased me, and he so pleased me, what I did, you must have done. Mrs. Peachum. Not with a highwayman. You sorry slut. Peachum. A word with you, wife. 'Tis no new thing for a wench to take man without consent of parents. You know 'tis the frailty of women, my dear Mrs. Peachum. Yes, indeed, the sex is frail. But the first time a woman is frail, she should be somewhat nice, methinks, for then or never is the time to make her fortune. After that, she hath nothing to do but to guard herself from being found out, and she may do what she pleases. Peachum, make yourself a little easy. I have a thought shall soon set all matters again to rights. Why so melancholy, Polly? Since what is done cannot be undone, we must all endeavor to make the best of it. Mrs. Peachum. Well, Polly, as far as one woman can forgive another, I forgive thee. Your father is too fond of you, hussy. Polly. Then all my sorrows are at an end. Mrs. Peachum. A mighty likely speech in troth, for a wench who is just married. Her ex-Thomas, I cannot see. Polly. I, like a ship in storms, was just yet afraid to put into land, for seized in the port the vessel's lost, whose treasure is contraband. The waves are laid, my duties paid. Oh, joy beyond expression! Thus safe ashore, I ask no more, my all is in my possession. Peachum. I hear customers in t'other room go. Talk with them, Polly, but come to us again as soon as they are gone. But, hark ye, child, if 'tis the gentleman who was here yesterday about the repeating watch, say, you believe we can't get intelligence of it till tomorrow. For I lent it to Sooty Straddle, to make a figure with it tonight at a tavern in Drury Lane. If t'other gentleman calls for the silver-hilted sword, you know Bilgerbroja may have it on, and he doth not come from Tunbridge till Tuesday night, so that it cannot be had till then. Exit Polly. Peachum. Dear wife, be a little pacified, don't let your passion run away with your senses. Polly, I grant you have done a rash thing. Mrs. Peachum. If she had only an intrigue with the fellow, why the very best families have excused and huddled up a frailty of that sort. 'Tis marriage, husband, that makes it a blemish. Peachum. But money, wife, is the true philosopher for reputations. There is not a spot or a stain but what it can take out. A rich rogue nowadays is fit company for any gentleman in the world, my dear. Have not such a contempt for roguery as you imagine. I tell you, wife, I can make this match turn to our advantage. Mrs. Peachum. I am very sensible, husband, that Captain Matcheth is worth money, but I'm in doubt whether he hath not 2 or 3 wives already, and then if he should die in a session or two, Polly's star would come into dispute. Peachum. That, indeed, is a point which ought to be considered. Hershey. A soldier and a sailor. A fox may steal your hands, sir, a whore your health and pence, sir, your daughter rob your chest, sir, your wife may steal your rest, sir, a thief your goods and plate. But this is all but picking, with rest, pence, chest and chicken it ever was decreed, sir, if lawyer's hand is feed, sir, he steals your whole estate. The lawyers are bitter enemies to those in our way. They don't care that anybody should get a clandestine livelihood but themselves. Polly. 'Twas only Nemming Ned. He brought in a damask window curtain, a hoop petticoat, a pair of silver candlesticks, a periwig, and 1 silk stocking from the fire that happened last night. Peachum. There is not a fellow that is clever in his way, and saves more goods out of the fire than Ned. But now, Polly, to your affair, for matters must not be left as they are. You are married then, it seems? Polly. Yes, sir. Peachum. And how do you propose to live, child? Polly. Like other women, sir, upon the industry of my husband, Mrs. Peachum. What, is the wench turned fool? A highwayman's wife, like a soldier's, hath as little of his pay as of his company. Peachum. And had not you the common views of a gentlewoman in your marriage, Polly? Polly. I don't know what you mean, sir. Peachum. Of a jointure, and of being a widow. Polly. But I love him, sir, how then could I have thoughts of parting with him? Peachum. Parting with him! Why, this is the whole scheme and intention of all marriage articles. The comfortable estate of widowhood is the only hope that keeps up a wife's spirits. Where is the woman who would scruple to be a wife, if she had it in her power to be a widow whenever she pleased? If you have any views of this sort, Polly, I shall think the match not so very unreasonable. Polly. How I dread to hear your advice! Yet I must beg you to explain yourself. Peachum. Secure what he hath got, have him peached the next sessions, and then at once you are made a rich widow. Polly. But murder the man I love. The blood runs cold at my heart with the very thought of it. Peachum. The pawing! What hath murder to do in the affair? Since the thing sooner or later must happen, I dare say, the captain himself would like that we should get the reward for his death sooner than a stranger. Why, Polly, the captain knows that as 'tis his employment to rob, so 'tis ours to take robbers every man in his business. So that there is no malice in the case. Mrs. Peachum. Hey, husband, now you have naked the matter. To have him peached is the only thing could ever make me forgive her. Say. Now ponder well, you parents dear. Music. Polly. Oh, ponder well. Be not severe, so save a wretched wife. For on the rope that hangs my dear depends poor Polly's life. Mrs. Peachum. But your duty to your parents, hussy, obliges you to hang him. What would many a wife give for such an opportunity? Polly. What is a jointure, what is widowhood to me? I know my heart. I cannot survive him. Say. Le printemps repello arms. Music. The turtle thus with plaintive crying, her lover dying. The turtle thus with plaintive crying, laments her dove. Down she drops quite spent with sighing. Paired in death, as paired in love. Thus, sir, it will happen to your poor Polly. Mrs. Peachum. But, is the fool in love in earnest then? I hate thee for being particular. Why, wench, thou art a shame to thy very sex. Polly. But hear me, mother. If you ever loved Mrs. Peachum, those cursed playbooks she reads have been her ruin. One word more, hussy, and I shall knock your brains out, if you have any. Peachum. Keep out of the way, Polly, for fear of mischief, and consider of what is proposed to you. Mrs. Peachum. Wait, hussy. Hang your husband, and be dutiful. Exit Polly. Re-enter Polly, and listens behind column. Mrs. Peachum. The thing, husband, must and shall be done. For the sake of intelligence we must take other measures, and have him peached the next session without her consent. If she will not know her duty, we know ours. Peachum. But really, my dear, it grieves one's heart to take off a great man. When I consider his personal bravery, his fine stratagem, how much we have already got by him, and how much more we may get, methinks I can't find in my heart to have a hand in his death. I wish you could have made Polly undertake it, Mrs. Peachum. But in a case of necessity our own lives are in danger. Peachum. Then indeed we must comply with the customs of the world, and make gratitude give way to interest. He shall be taken off, Mrs. Peachum. I'll undertake to manage Polly, Peachum. And I'll prepare matters for the Old Bailey. Exeunt severally. Polly. Now I'm a wretch, indeed. Methinks I see him already in the court, sweeter and more lovely than the nosegay in his hand. I hear the crowd extolling his resolution and intrepidity. What volleys of sighs are sent from the windows of Holborn, that so comely a youth should be brought to disgrace. I see him at the tree. The whole circle are in tears. Even butchers weep. Jack Ketch himself hesitates to perform his duty, and would be glad to lose his feet by a reprieve. What then will become of Polly? As yet I may inform him of their design, and aid him in his escape. It shall be so, but then he flies, absents himself, and I bar myself from his dear conversation. That too will distract me. If he keep out of the way, my papa and mamma may in time relent, and we may be happy. If he stays, he is hanged, and then he is lost forever. He intended to lie concealed in my room, till the dusk of the evening. If they are about at this instant, let him out, lest some accident should prevent him. Exit, and returns with Macheth. Exit. Pretty parrot, say, Macheth. Pretty Polly, say, when I was away, did your fancy never stray to some newer lover? Polly. Without disguise, heaving sighs, doting eyes, my constant heart discover. Fondly let me love, Macheth. Oh, pretty Poll, Polly. And are you as fond as ever, my dear, Macheth? Suspect my honor, my courage, suspect anything but my love. May my pistols misfire, and my mare slip her shoulder while I am pursued, if I ever forsake thee. Polly. Nay, my dear, I have no reason to doubt you, for I find in the romance you lent me none of the great heroes were ever false in love. Pray, fair one, be kind, Macheth. My heart was so free, it roved like the bee, till Polly my passion requited. I sipped each flower, I chained every hour, but here every flower is united. Polly. Were you sentenced to transportation? Sure, my dear, you could not leave me behind you, could you? Macheth. Is there any power, any force that could tear me from thee? You might sooner tear a pension out of the hands of a courtier, a fee from a lawyer, a pretty woman from a looking-glass, or any woman from quadrille. But to tear me from thee is impossible. Reply. Over the hills and far away, music. Where I lay down Greenland's coast, and in my arms embraced my last warm amidst eternal frost, too soon the half-year's night would pass. Polly. Where I sold on Indian soil, soon as the burning day was closed, I could mock the sultry toil when on my charmer's breast reposed. Macheth. And I would love you all the day. Polly. Every night would kiss and play. Macheth. If with me you'd fondly stray. Polly. Over the hills and far away. Polly. Yes, I would go with thee. Oh no! How shall I speak it? I must be torn from thee. We must part. That chef. Ah! Part! Polly. We must. My papa and mama are set against thy life. They even now are in search after thee. They are preparing evidence against thee. Thy life depends upon a moment. Exvae. Gin thou wert mine own thing. Mercy. Oh, what pain it is to part! Can I leave thee? Oh, what pain it is to part! Can thy Polly ever leave thee? But lest death my love should thwart, and bring thee to the fatal court, thus I tear thee from my bleeding heart. Fly hence, and let me leave thee. One kiss and then one kiss, be gone, farewell. That chef. My hand, my heart, my dear, is so riveted to thine that I cannot unloose my hold. Polly. But my papa may intercept thee, and then I should lose the very glimmering of hope. A few weeks, perhaps, may reconcile us all. Shall thy Polly hear from thee? That chef. Must I then go? Polly. And will not absence change your love? That chef. If you doubt it, let me stay and be hanged. Polly. Oh, how I fear! How I tremble! Go, but when safety will give you leave, you will be sure to see me again, for till then Polly is wretched. Exvae. Oh, the broom, see? Mercy. That chef. The miser thus a shilling sees, which he's obliged to pay, with sighs resigns it by degrees, and fears 'tis gone for a parting, and looking back at each other with fondness, he at one door, she at the other. Polly. The boy, thus when his sparrow's flown, the bird in silence sighs, but soon as out of sight 'tis gone, whines, whimpers, sobs, and cries. Act I. Scene I. A tavern near Newgate. In my Twitcher, crook-fingered Jack, Waldrerian, Robin of Bashot, Nemingnet, Harry Paddington, Matt of the Mint, Ben Budge, and the rest of the gang at the table, with wine, brandy, and tobacco. Then, but pray thee, Matt, what is become of thy brother Tom? I have not seen him since my return from transportation. Matt. Poor brother Tom had an accident this time 12 month, and so clever a made fellow he was, that I could not save him from those fleeing rascals the surgeons, and now, poor man, he is among the Otamis at Surgeons' Hall. Then, so it seems his time was come. Jemmy. But the present time is ours, and nobody alive hath more. Why are the lost levelled at us? Are we more dishonest than the rest of mankind? What we win, gentlemen, is our own by the law of arms, and the right of conquest. Crook! Where shall we find such another set of practical philosophers, who to a man are above the fear of death? Oh. Sound men and true. Robin. Of tried courage, and indefatigable industry. And who is there here that would not die for his friend? Harry. Who is there here that would betray him for his interest? You me a gang of courtiers that can't say as much. Then we are for a just partition of the world, for every man hath a right to enjoy life. We retrench the superfluities of mankind. The world is avaricious, and I hate avarice. A covetous fellow, like a jackdaw, steals what he was never made to enjoy, for the sake of hiding it. These are the robbers of mankind, for money was made for the free-hearted and generous, and where is the injury of taking from another what he hath not the heart to make use of? Jemmy, our several stations for the day are fixed. Good luck attend us all. Fill the glasses. Uptick. Fill every glass, see. Music. Fill every glass, for wine inspires us, and fires us with courage, love and joy. Women and wine should life employ. Is there aught else on earth desirous? Chorus. Fill every glass, see. To the mental matcheth. Matcheth. Gentlemen, well met. My heart hath been with you this hour, but an unexpected affair hath detained me. No ceremony, I beg you. We were just breaking up to go upon duty. Am I to have the honor of taking the air with you, sir, this evening upon the heath? I drink a dram now and then with a stagecoachman in the way of friendship and intelligence, and I know that about this time there will be passengers upon the western road who are worth speaking with. Matcheth. I was to have been of that party, but what, sir? Matcheth. Is there any man who suspects my courage? We have all been witnesses of it. Matcheth. My honor and truth to the gang. I'll be answerable for it. Matcheth. In the division of our booty, have I ever shown the least marks of avarice or injustice? By these questions something seems to have ruffled you. Are any of us suspected? Matcheth. I have a fixed confidence, gentlemen, in you all, as men of honor, and as such I value and respect you. Peachum is a man that is useful to us. Is he about to play us any foul play? I'll shoot him through the head. Matcheth. I beg you, gentlemen, act with conduct and discretion. A pistol is your last resort. He knows nothing of this meeting. Matcheth. Business cannot go on without him. He is a man who knows the world, and is a necessary agent to us. We have had a slight difference, and until it is accommodated I shall be obliged to keep out of his way. Any private dispute of mine shall be of no ill consequence to my friends. You must continue to act under his direction, for the moment we break loose from him, our gang is ruined. As a bawd to a whore, I grant you he is to us of great convenience. Matcheth. Make him believe I have quitted the gang, which I can never do but with life. At our private quarters I will continue to meet you. A week or so will probably reconcile us. Your instructions shall be observed. 'Tis now high time for us to repair to our several duties, so till the evening at our quarters in Moorfields we bid you farewell. Matcheth. I shall wish myself with you. Success attend you. Sits down melancholy at the table. March in Ronaldo, with drums and trumpets. Music. Let us take the road. Hark! I hear the sound of coaches. The hour of attack approaches. To your arms, brave boys, unload. See the ball I hold! Let the chimists toil like asses. Our fire their fire surpasses, and turns all our lead to gold. The gang, ranged in the front of the stage, load their pistols, and stick them under their girdles, then go off singing the first part and chorus. Matcheth. What a fool is a fond wench! Polly is most confoundedly bit. I love the sex. And a man who loves money might as well be contented with 1 guinea as I with 1 woman. The town perhaps had been as much obliged to me for recruiting it with free-hearted ladies as to any recruiting officer in the army. If it were not for us, and the other gentlemen of the sword, Druryland would be uninhabited. Irkside. Would you have a young virgin, see? Mercy. If the heart of a man is depressed with cares, the mist is dispelled when a woman appears like the notes of a fiddle. She sweetly, sweetly raises the spirits and charms our airs. Roses and lilies her cheeks disclose, but her ripe lips are more sweet than those. Press her, caress her, with blisses, her kisses dissolve us in pleasure and soft repose. I must have women. There is nothing unbends the mind like them. Money is not so strong a cordial for the time. Drawer enter drawer. Is the porter gone for all the ladies according to my directions? Drawer. I expect him back every minute. But you know, sir, you sent him as far as Hockley in the Hole for 3 of the ladies, for 1 in Vinegard, and for the rest of them somewhere about Lumner's Inn. Sure some of them are below, for I hear the barber. As they come I will shoot them up. Coming, coming. Enter Mrs. Coaxer, Dolly Troll, Mrs. Vixen, Betty Doxy, Jenny Diver, Mrs. Slammikin, Suki Tawdry, and Molly Brayson. Matt Chef. Dear Mrs. Coaxer, you are welcome. You look charmingly today. I hope you don't want the repairs of quality and lay on paint. Dolly Troll. Kiss me, you slut. Are you as amorous as ever, hussy? You are always so taken up with stealing hearts, that you don't allow yourself time to steal anything else. Oh, Dolly, thou wilt ever be a coquette. Mrs. Vixen, I'm yours. I always loved a woman of wit and spirit. They make charming mistresses, but plague a wise Betty Doxy. Come hither, hussy. Do you drink as hard as ever? You had better stick to good wholesome beer, for in troth, Betty, strong waters will in time ruin your constitution. You should leave those to your betters. What? And my pretty Jenny Diver too, as prim and demure as ever. There is not any prude, though ever so high-bred, hath a more sanctified look, with a more mischievous heart. Oh, thou art a dear artful hypocrite. Mrs. Slammikin, as careless and genteel as ever. All you fine ladies who know your own beauty, effect and unrest. But see, here Suki Tawdry come to contradict what I was saying. Everything she gets one way she lays out upon her back. Why, Suki, you must keep at least a dozen talisman. Polly Brazen! She kisses him. That's well done. I love a free-hearted wench. Thou hast the most agreeable assurance, girl, and art as willing as a turtle. But hark! I hear music. The harper is at the door. If music be the food of love, play on. Ere you seat yourselves, ladies, what think you of a dance? Come then, enter harper. Play the French tune that Mrs. Slammikin was so fond of. A dance a la ronde and the Frenchman will near the end of it this song and chorus. Irksay. Codelin. Youth's the season made for joys, love is then our duty, she alone who that employs, well deserves her beauty. Let's be gay while we may, beauty's a flower, dispersed in decay. Youth's the season, see. Let us drink and sport today, ours is not tomorrow. Love with youth flies swift away, age is naught but sorrow. Dance and sing, time's on the wing. Life never knows the return of spring. Chorus. Let us drink, see. That chef. Pray ladies, take your places. Here, fellow. Pace the harper. Bid the drawer bring us more wine. Exit harper. If any of the ladies choose gin, I hope they will be so free to call for it. Jenny. You look as if you meant me. Wine is strong enough for me. Indeed, sir, I never drink strong waters, but when I have the cholic. That chef. Just the excuse of the fine ladies. Why, a lady of quality is never without the cholic. I hope, Mrs. Coxer, you have had good success of late in your visits among the mussers. Mrs. Coxer. We have so many interlopers, yet with industry, one may still have a little picking. I carried a silver-flowered lutestring, and a piece of black padesoy to Mr. Peacham's lock but last week. Mrs. Vixen. There's Molly Brayson hath the ogle of a rattlesnake. She riveted a line and rippers I so fast upon her, that he was naked of 3 pieces of cambric before he could look off. Raisin. Oh dear madam! But sure nothing can come up to your handling of laces. And then you have such a sweet deluding tongue. To cheat a man is nothing, but the woman must have fine parts indeed who cheats a woman. Mrs. Vixen. Lace, madam, lies in a small compass, and is of easy conveyance. But you are apt, madam, to think too well of your friends. Mrs. Coxer. If any woman hath more art than another, to be sure 'tis Jenny Diver. Though her fellow be never so agreeable, she can pick his pocket as coolly as if money were her only pleasure. Now that is a command of the passions uncommon in a woman. Jenny. I never go to the tavern with a man but in the view of business. I have other hours and other sort of men for my pleasure. But had I your address, madam? That chef. I've done with your compliments, ladies, and drink about. You are not so fond of me, Jenny, as you used to be. Jenny. 'Tis not convenient, sir, to shew my fondness among so many rivals. 'Tis your own choice, and not the warmth of my inclination that will determine you. Say. All in a misty morning, see. Music. Before the barn door crowing, the cock by hands attended, his eyes round him throwing, stands for a while suspended. Then one he singles from the crew, and cheers the happy hen with how do you do, and how do you do, and how do you do again. That chef. Oh, Jenny! Thou art a dear slut. Jenny. A man of courage should never put anything to the risk but his life. These are the tools of a man of honor. Cards and dice are only fit for cowardly cheats who prey upon their friends. She takes up his pistol. Tawdry takes up the other. Tawdry. This, sir, is fitter for your hand. Besides your loss of money, 'tis a loss to the ladies. Aiming takes you off from women. How fond could I be of you? But before company 'tis ill-bred. That chef. Wanton hast say'st. Jenny. I must and will have a kiss to give my wine a zest. They take him about the neck and make signs to Peacham and constables who rush in upon him. Peacham. I seize you, sir, as my prisoner. That chef. Was this well done, Jenny? Women are decoy ducks who can trust them. Beasts, jades, jilts, harpies, furies, whores. Peacham. Your case, Mr. Matcheth, is not particular. The greatest heroes have been ruined by women. But, To do them justice, I must own they are a pretty sort of creatures if we could trust them. You must now, sir, take your leave of the ladies, and if they have a mind to make you a visit, they will be sure to find you at home. This gentleman, ladies, lodges in Newgate. Constables wait upon the captain to his lodgings. Exit. When first I laid siege to my Chloris, see. Music. Matcheth. At the tree I shall suffer with pleasure, at the tree I shall suffer with pleasure. Let me go where I will, in all kinds of ill, I shall find no such furies as these are. Peachum. Ladies, I'll take care the reckoning shall be discharged. Exit Matcheth guarded with Peachum and constables. Mrs. Vixen. Look ye, Mrs. Jenny, though Mr. Peachum may have made a private bargain with you and Sugatory for betraying the captain, as we were all assisting, we ought all to share like. Mrs. Coaxer. I think Mr. Peachum, after so long an acquaintance, might have trusted me as well as Jenny Diver. Mrs. Slammikin. I am sure at least 3 men of his hanging, and in a year's time too, if he did me justice, should be set down to my account. Troll. Mrs. Slammikin, that is not fair. For you know one of them was taken in bed with me. Yea. As far as a bowl of punch or a treat, I believe Mrs. Suki will join with me. As for anything else, ladies, you cannot in conscience expect it. Mrs. Slammikin. Dear madam. Troll. I would not for the world. Mrs. Slammikin. 'Tis impossible for me. Troll. As I hope to be served, madam. Mrs. Slammikin. Nay, then I must stay here all night. Troll. Since you command me, accept with great ceremony. Denied. It. Lockett, turnkeys, Matcheth, constables. Lockett. Noble captain, you are welcome. You have not been a lodger of mine this year and half. You know the custom, sir. Garnished, captain, garnished. Hand me down those fetters there. Matcheth. Those, Mr. Lockett, seem to be the heaviest of the whole set. With your leave, I should like the further pair better. Lockett. Look ye, captain, we know what is fittest for our prisoners. When a gentleman uses me with civility, I always do the best I can to please him. Hand them down, I say. We have them of all prices, from 1 guinea to 10, and 'tis fitting every gentleman should please himself. Matcheth. I understand you, sir. Gives money. The fees here are so many, and so exorbitant, that few fortunes can bear the expense of getting off handsomely or of dying like a gentleman. Lockett. Those, I see, will fit the captain better. Take down the further pair. Do but examine them, sir. Never was better work. How genteelly they are made! They will fit as easy as a glove, and the nicest man in England might not be ashamed to wear them. He puts on the chains. If I had the best gentleman in the land in my custody, I could not equip him more handsomely. And so, sir, I now leave you to your private meditations. Except leaving Matcheth solaced. Exit. Courtiers, think it no harm, see. Man may escape from rope and gun, nay, some have outlived the doctor's pill. Who takes a woman must be undone, that basilisk is sure to kill. The fly that sips treacle is lost in the sweets. So he that tastes woman, he that tastes woman, ruin meets. To what a woeful plight have I brought myself! Here must I all day long, till I am hanged, be confined to hear the reproaches of a wench who lays her ruin at my door. I am in the custody of her father, and to be sure, if he knows of the matter, I shall have a fine time on betwixt this and my execution. But I promised the wench marriage. What signifies a promise to a woman? Does not man in marriage itself promise 100 things that he never means to perform? Do all we can, women will believe us, for they look upon a promise as an excuse for following their own inclinations. But here comes Lucy, and I cannot get from her. Would I were death! Enter Lucy. Lucy. You base man, you, how can you look me in the face after what hath passed between us? See here, perfidious wretch, how I am for to bear about the load of infamy you have laid upon me, O Macheth. Thou hast robbed me of my quiet. To see thee tortured would give me pleasure. Excellent. A lovely lass to a friar came, see. Mercy. Thus when a good housewife sees a rat in her trap in the morning taken, with pleasure her heart goes pit-a-pat, in revenge for her loss of bacon. Then she throws him to the dog or cat, to be worried, crushed and shaken. Macheth. Have you no bowels, no tenderness, my dear Lucy, to see a husband in these circumstances? Lucy. A husband! Macheth. In every respect but the form, and that, my dear, may be said over us at any time. Friends should not insist upon ceremonies. From a man of honor, his word is as good as his bond. Lucy. 'Tis the pleasure of all you fine men to insult the women you have ruined. Irksaway. 'Twas when the sea was roaring, see. How cruel are the traitors who lie and swear and jest, to cheat unguarded creatures of virtue, fame, and rest. Whoever steals a shilling through shame the guilt conceals, and love the perjured villain with boasts the theft reveals. Macheth. The very first opportunity, my dear, have but patience, you shall be my wife in whatever manner you please. Lucy. Insinuating monster! And so you think I know nothing of the affair of Miss Polly Peachum? I could tear thy eyes out. Macheth. Sure, Lucy, you can't be such a fool as to be jealous of Polly. Lucy. Are you not married to her, you brute, you? Macheth. Married! Very good. The wench gives it out only to vex thee, and to ruin me in thy good opinion. 'Tis true, I go to the house, I chat with the girl, I kiss her, I say 1,000 things to her as all gentlemen do that mean nothing, to divert myself. And now the silly jade hath said it about that I am married to her, to let me know what she would be at. Indeed, my dear Lucy, these violent passions may be of ill consequence to a woman in your condition. Lucy. Come, come, Captain, for all your assurance, you know that Miss Polly hath put it out of your power to do me the justice you promised me. Macheth. A jealous woman believes everything her passion suggests. To convince you of my sincerity, if we can find the ordinary, I shall have no scruples of making you my wife, and I know the consequence of having two at a time. Lucy. That you are only to be hanged, and so get rid of them both. Macheth. I am ready, my dear Lucy, to give you satisfaction if you think there is any in marriage. What can a man of honor say more? Lucy. So then, it seems, you are not married to Miss Polly. Macheth. You know, Lucy, the girl is prodigiously conceited. No man can say a civil thing to her, but like other fine ladies her vanity makes her think he's her own forever and ever. Irksaway. The sun had loosed his weary Thames sea. Mercy. The first time at the looking-glass the mother sets her daughter, that image strikes the smiling lass with self-love ever after. Each time she looks, she, fonder grown, thinks every charm grows stronger. But alas, vain maid, all eyes but your own can see you are not younger. When women consider their own beauties, they are all alike unreasonable in their demands, for they expect their lovers should like them as long as they like themselves. Lucy, yonder is my father. Perhaps this way we may light upon the ordinary, who shall try if you will be as good as your word. For I long to be made an honest woman. Enter Peachum and Locket with an account book. Locket. In this last affair, brother Peachum, we are agreed. You have consented to go halves in Macheth. Peachum. We shall never fall out about an execution, but as to that article, pray how stands our last year's account? Locket. If you will run your eye over it, you'll find 'tis fair and clearly stated. Peachum. This long arrear of the government is very hard upon us. Can it be expected that we would hang our acquaintance for nothing, when our betters will hardly save theirs without being paid for it? Unless the people in employment pay better, I promise them for the future, I shall let other rogues live besides their own. Locket. Perhaps, brother, they are afraid these matters may be carried too far. We are treated to by them with contempt, as if our profession were not reputable. Peachum. In one respect indeed our employment may be reckoned dishonest, because, like great statesmen, we encourage those who betray their friends. Locket. Such language, brother, anywhere else might turn to your prejudice. Learn to be more guarded, I beg you. Erxith. How happy are we, say, music. When you censure the age, be cautious and sage, lest the courtiers offended should be if you mention vice or bride. 'Tis so pat to all the tribe each Christ that was levelled at me. Peachum. Here's poor Ned Clincher's name, I see. Sure, brother Locket. There was a little unfair proceeding in Ned's case, for he told me in the condemned hold, that for value received, you had promised him a session or two longer without molestation. Locket. Mr. Peachum, this is the first time my honor was ever called in question. Peachum. Business is at an end if once we act dishonorably. Locket. Who accuses me? Peachum. You are warm, brother. Locket. He that attacks my honor, attacks my livelihood. And this usage, sir, is not to be borne. Peachum. Since you provoke me to speak, I must tell you too, that Mrs. Coxer charges you with defrauding her of her information money for the apprehending of culpated you. Indeed, brother, we must punctually pay our spies, or we shall have no information. Locket. Is this language to me, sirrah, who have saved you from the gallows, sirrah? Collaring each other. Peachum. If I am hanged, it shall be for ridding the world of an arrant rascal. Locket. This hand shall do the office of the halter you deserve, unthrottle you, you dog. Peachum. Brother, we are both in the wrong, we shall be both losers in the dispute, for you know we have it in our power to hang each other. You should not be so passionate. Locket. Are you so provoking? Peachum. 'Tis our mutual interest, 'tis for the interest of the world we should agree. If I said anything, brother, to the prejudice of your character, I ask pardon. Locket. Brother Peachum, I can forgive as well as resent. Give me your hand. Suspicion does not become a friend. Peachum. I only meant to give you occasion to justify yourself, but I must now step home, for I expect the gentleman about this snuffbox that filched him 2 nights ago in the park. I appointed him at this hour. Exit Peachum. Lock it. Whence come you, hussy? Lucy. My tales might answer that question. Lock it. You have then been whimpering and fondling like a spaniel over the fellow that hath abused you. Lucy. One can't help love, one can't cure it. 'Tis not in my power to obey you and hate him. Lock it. Learn to bear your husband's death like a reasonable woman. 'Tis not the fashion nowadays so much as to affect sorrow upon these occasions. No woman would ever marry if she had not the chance of mortality for a release. Act like a woman of spirit, hussy, and thank your father for what he is doing. Of a noble race was Shankin. Mercy. Lucy. Is then his fate decreed, sir? Such a man can I think of quitting? When first we met, so moves me yet, oh see how my heart is splitting. Lock it. Look ye, Lucy, there is no saving him. So, I think, you must even do like other widows, buy yourself weeds and be cheerful. You'll think ere many days ensue this sentence not severe. I hang your husband, child, 'tis true, but with him hang your care. Pom dang dillo dee. Like a good wife, go moan over your dying husband. That, child, is your duty. Consider, girl, you can't have the man and the money too, so make yourself as easy as you can by getting all you can from him. Exit lock it. Enter Matchev. Lucy. But the ordinary was out of the way today. I hope, my dear, you will, upon the first opportunity, quiet my scruples, oh sir. My father's hard heart is not to be softened, and I am in the utmost despair. Matchev. But if I could raise a small sum, would not 20 guineas, think you, move him? Of all the arguments in the way of business, the perquisite is the most prevailing. Your father's perquisites for the escape of prisoners must amount to a considerable sum in the year. Money well tended and properly applied will do anything. London ladies, if you at an office solicit your due, and would not have matters neglected, you must quicken the clerk with the perquisite to do what his duty directed. Or would you the frowns of a lady prevent? She too has this palpable failing, the perquisite softens her into consent that reason withal is prevailing. Lucy. What love or money can do shall be done, for all my comfort depends upon your safety. Enter Polly. Polly. Where is my dear husband? Was a rope ever intended for this neck? Oh, let me throw my arms about it, and throttle thee with love. Why dost thou turn away from me? 'Tis thy Polly, 'tis thy wife. Matchev. Was ever such an unfortunate rascal as I am? Lucy. Was there ever such another villain? Polly. Oh, Matchev! Was it for this we parted? Taken, imprisoned, tried, and cruel reflection. I'll stay with thee till death, no force shall tear thy dear wife from thee now. What means my love? Not one kind word, not one kind look. Think what thy Polly suffers to see thee in this condition. Slave. All in their downs, see. Mercy. Thus when the swallow seeking prey within the sashes closely pant, his consort, with bemoaning lay, without sits pining for the event. Her chattering lovers all round her skim, she heeds them not, poor bard. Her soul's with him. That chef. I sighed. I must disown her. Aloud. The wench is distracted. Lucy. Am I then bilked of my virtue? Can I have no reparation? Sure men were born to lie, and women to believe them. Oh villain! Villain! Polly. Am I not thy wife? Thy neglect of me, thy aversion to me too severely proves it. Look on me. Tell me, am I not thy wife? Lucy. Perfidious wretch! Polly. Barbarous husband! Lucy. Hadst thou been hanged 5 months ago, I had been happy. Polly. And I too, if you had been kind to me till death, it would not have vexed me, and that's no very unreasonable request, thou from a wife to a man who hath not above 7 or 8 days to live. Lucy. Art thou then married to another? Hast thou 2 wives, monster? That chef. If women's tongues can cease for an answer, hear me. Lucy. I won't. Flesh and blood can't bear my usage. Polly. Shall I not claim my own? Justice bids me speak. Irksive. Have you heard of a frolicsome ditty, see? That chef. How happy could I be with either, were t'other dear charmer away. But while you thus tease me together, to neither a word will I say, but all de-roll, see. Polly. Sure, my dear, there ought to be some preference shewn to a wife. At least she may claim the appearance of it. He must be distracted with his misfortunes, or he could not use me thus. Lucy. Oh villain, villain! Thou hast deceived me. I could even inform against thee with pleasure. Not a prude wishes more heartily to have facts against her intimate acquaintance, than I now wish to have facts against thee. I would have her satisfaction, and they should all out. Irksive. Irish trot. Music. Polly. I am bubbled. Lucy, I'm bubbled. Polly. Oh, how I am troubled. Lucy. Bamboozled and bit. Polly. My distresses are doubled. Lucy. When you come to the tree, should the hangman refuse, these fingers with pleasure could fasten the noose. Polly. I'm bubbled, see. That chef. Be pacified, my dear Lucy, this is all a fetch of Polly's, to make me desperate with you in case I get off. If I am hanged, she would fain have the credit of being thought my widow. Really, Polly, this is no time for a dispute of this sort, for whenever you are talking of marriage, I am thinking of hanging. Polly. And hast thou the heart to persist in disowning me? That chef. And hast thou the heart to persist in persuading me that I am married? Why, Polly, dost thou seek to aggravate my misfortunes? Lucy. Really, Miss Peachum, you but expose yourself. Besides, 'tis barbarous in you to worry a gentleman in his circumstances. Irksoi. Polly. This your funding force or cunning never shall my heart trepan. All these sallies are but malice to seduce my constant man. 'Tis most certain, by their flirting women oft have envy shown. Placed to ruin others, wooing never happy in their own. Polly. Decency, madam, methinks might teach you to behave yourself with some reserve with the husband, while his wife is present. That chef. But seriously, Polly, this is carrying the joke a little too far. Lucy. If you are determined, madam, to raise a disturbance in the prison, I shall be obliged to send for the turnkey to show you the door. I am sorry, madam, you force me to be so ill-bred. Polly. Give me leave to tell you, madam, these forwarders don't become you in the least, madam. And my duty, madam, obliges me to stay with my husband, madam. Away. Good morrow, gossip Joan. Mercy. Lucy. Why how now, madam flirt? If you thus must chatter and are for flinging dirt, let's try who best can spatter madam flirt. Polly. Why how now, saucy jade, sure the wench is tipsy. How can you see me made to him? The scoff of such a gipsy. Saucy jade! Beggar. Enter Peachum. Peachum. Where's my wench? Hussy! Hussy! Come you home, you slut, and when your fellow is hanged, hang yourself, to make your family some amends. Polly. Dear, dear father, do not tear me from him, I must speak, I have more to say to him, oh. Twist thy fetters about me, that he may not haul me from thee. Peachum. Sure all women are alike. If ever they commit the folly, they are sure to commit another by exposing themselves away. Not a word more, you are my prisoner now, hussy. Away. Perish help. Mercy. Polly. No power on earth can e'er divide the knot that sacred love hath tied. When parents draw against our mind, the true love's knot they faster bind. Oh, ray, oh, boy, oh, see. Holding Macheth Peachum pulling her. See, nigh. The same. Lucy, Macheth. Macheth. I am naturally compassionate. Why, so that I could not use the wench as she deserved, which made you at first suspect there was something in what she said. Lucy. Indeed, my dear, I was strangely puzzled. Macheth. If that had been the case, her father would never have brought me into this circumstance. No, Lucy, I had rather die than be false to thee. Lucy. How happy am I, if you say this from your heart! For I love thee so, that I could sooner bear to see thee hanged than in the arms of another. Macheth. But couldst thou bear to see me hanged? Lucy. Oh, Macheth, I can never live to see that day. Macheth. You see, Lucy, in the account of love you are in my death, and you must now be convinced that I rather choose to die than be another's. Make me, if possible, love thee more, and let me owe my life to thee. If you refuse to assist me, Peachum and your father will immediately put me beyond all means of escape. Lucy. My father, I know, hath been drinking hard with the prisoners, and I fancy he is now taking his nap in his own room. If I can procure the keys, shall I go off with thee, my dear? Macheth. If we are together, it will be impossible to lie concealed. As soon as the search begins to be a little cool, I will send to thee. Till then my heart is thy prisoner. Lucy. Come then, my dear husband, owe thy life to me, and though you love me not, be grateful. But that Polly runs in my head strangely. Macheth. A moment of time may make us unhappy forever. State. The lass of Peggy's Mill, see. Mercy. Lucy. I like the fox shall grieve, whose mate hath left her side, whom hounds from morn to eve chase o'er the country wide. Where can my lover hide? Where cheat the wary pack? If love be not his guide, he never will come back. Act I. Scene 9. Scene 8. Lock it. To be sure, wench, you must have been aiding and abetting to help him to this escape. Lucy. So, here hath been Peachum and his daughter Polly, and to be sure they know the ways of Newgate as well as if they had been born and bred in the place all their lives. Why must all your suspicion light upon me? Lock it. Lucy, Lucy, I will have none of these shuffling answers. Lucy. Well then, if I know anything of him, I wish I may be burnt. Lock it. Keep your temper, Lucy, or I shall pronounce you guilty. Lucy. Keep yours, sir. I do wish I may be burnt. I do, and what can I say more to convince you? Lock it. Did he tip handsomely? How much did he come down with? Come, hussy, don't cheat your father, and I shall not be angry with you. Perhaps you have made a better bargain with him than I could have done. How much, my good girl? Lucy. You know, sir, I am fond of him, and would have given money to have kept him with me. Lock it. Lucy! My education might have put thee more upon thy guard, for a girl in the bar of an alehouse is always besieged. Lucy. Dear sir, mention not my education, for 'twas to that I owe my ruin. If love's a sweet passion, see, when young at the bar you first taught me to score, and bid me be free of my lips, and no more I was kissed by the parson, the squire, and the son. When the guest was departed, the kiss was forgot. But his kiss was so sweet, and so closely he pressed, that I languished in pain till I granted the rest. If you can forgive me, sir, I will make a fair confession, for to be sure he hath been a most barbarous villain to me. Lock it. And so you have let him escape, hussy, have you? Lucy. When a woman loves, a kind look, a tender word can persuade her to anything, and I could ask no other bride. Lock it. Thou wilt always be a vulgar slut, Lucy. If you would not be looked upon as a fool, you should never do anything but upon the foot of interest. Those that act otherwise are their own bubbles. Lucy. But love, sir, is a misfortune that may happen to the most discreet women, and in love we are all fools alike. Notwithstanding all he swore, I am not fully convinced that Polly Peachum is actually his wife. Did I let him escape? Fool that I was! You go to her. Polly will wheedle herself into his money, and then Peachum will hang him and cheat us both. Lock it. So I am to be ruined, because, forsooth, you must be in love. A very pretty excuse. Lucy. I could murder that impudent happy strumpet. I gave him his life, and that creature enjoys the sweets of it. Ungrateful mateship! Airplay. South Sea Ballad. Music. My love is all madness and folly. Alone I lie, toss, tumble, and cry, what a happy creature is Polly. Was there such a wretch as I? With rage I redden like scarlet, that my dear inconstant varlet, stark blind to my charms, is lost in the arms of that jilt, that inveigling harlot. Stark blind to my charms, is lost in the arms of that jilt, that inveigling harlot. This my resentment alarms. Lock it. And so, after all this mischief, I must stay here to be entertained with your caterwauling, Mrs. Puss. Out of my sight, wanton strumpet! You shall fast and mortify yourself into reason, with now and then a little handsome discipline to bring you to your senses. Oh, exit Lucy. Peachum then intends to outwit me in this affair, but I'll be even with him. The dog is leaky in his liquor, so I'll ply him that way, get the secret from him, and turn this affair to my own advantage. Lions, wolves, and vultures don't live together in herds, droves, or flocks. Of all animals of prey, man is the only sociable one. Every one of us preys upon his neighbor, and yet we herd together. Peachum is my companion, my friend. According to the custom of the world, indeed, he may quote thousands of precedents for cheating me, and shall not I make use of the privilege of friendship to make him a return. Erpfly. Packington's pound. Us gamesters united in friendship are found, though they know that their industry all is a cheat, they flock to their prey at the disbow's sound, and join to promote one another's deceit. But if by mishap they fail of a chap, to keep in their hands, they each other entrap. Like pikes, lank with hunger, who miss of their ends, they bite their companions, and prey on their friends. Now, Peachum, you and I, like honest tradesmen, are to have a fair trial which of us two can overreach the other. Sinai. A gaming house. Matcheth in a fine tarnished coat, Ben Budge, mad of the mint. Matcheth. I am sorry, gentlemen, the road was so barren of money. When my friends are in difficulties, I am always glad that my fortune can be serviceable to them. Gives them money. You see, gentlemen, I am not a mere court friend, who professes everything and will do nothing. Erpfly. Lilibalo. The modes of the court so common are gone, that a true friend can hardly be met. Friendship for interest is but a loan, which they let out for what they can get. 'Tis true, you find some friends so kind, who will give you good counsel themselves to defend. In sorrowful ditty, they promise, they pity, but shift for your money from friend to friend. But we gentlemen have still honor enough to break through the corruptions of the world. And while I can serve you, you may command me. Then, it grieves my heart that so generous a man should be involved in such difficulties, as oblige him to live with such ill company, and herd with gamesters. See the partiality of mankind. One man may steal a horse, better than another look over a hedge. Of all mechanics, of all servile handicraftsmen, a gamester is the vilest. But yet, as many of the quality are of the profession, he is admitted amongst the politest company. I wonder we are not more respected. Matcheth. There will be deep play tonight at Maribon, and consequently money may be picked up upon the road. Meet me there, and I'll give you the hint who is worth setting. The fellow with a brown coat with a narrow gold binding, I am told, is never without money. Matcheth. What do you mean, mad? Sure you will not think of meddling with him. He's a good honest kind of a fellow, and one of us. Then, to be sure, sir, we will put ourselves under your direction. Matcheth. Have an eye upon the moneylenders. Rouleau or two would prove a pretty sort of an expedition. I hate extortion. Those rouleaus are very pretty things. I hate your bank bills. There is such a hazard in putting them off. Matcheth. There is a certain man of distinction, who in his time hath nicked me out of a great deal of the ready. He is in my cash, Ben. I'll point him out to you this evening, and you shall draw upon him for the debt. The company are met, I hear the disbooks in the other room. So, gentlemen, your servant. You'll meet me at Maribon. Sinai. Peachum's luck. A table with wine, brandy, pipes, and tobacco. Peachum, Lockett. Lockett. The coronation account, Brother Peachum, is of so intricate a nature, that I believe it will never be settled. P.Chum. It consists indeed of a great variety of articles. It was worth to our people in fees of different kinds above 10 installments. This is part of the account, brother, that lies open before us. Lock it. A lady's tale of rich brocade. That, I see, is disposed of. P.Chum. To Mrs. Diana Travis, the tallyman, and she will make a good hand on and shoes and slippers to trick out young ladies upon their going into keeping. Lock it. But I don't see any article of the jewels. P.Chum. Those are so well known that they must be sent abroad. You'll find them entered under the article of exportation. As for the snuff boxes, watches, swords, see, I thought it best to enter them under their several heads. Lock it. 27 women's pockets complete with the several things therein contained, all sealed, numbered, and entered. P.Chum. But, brother, it is impossible for us now to enter upon this affair. We should have the whole day before us. Besides, the account of the last half-year's plate is in a book by itself, which lies at the other office. Lock it. Bring us then more liquor. Today shall be for pleasure, tomorrow for business. Oh, brother, those daughters of ours are two slippery hussies. Keep a watchful eye upon Polly, and my chaff in a day or two shall be our own again. Erklad. Down in the north country, see? Lock it. What gudgeons are we men? Every woman's easy prey. Though we have felt the hook, agent we bite and they betray. The bird that hath been trapped, when he hears his calling mate, to her he flies, again he's clapped within the wary grate. P.Chum. But what signifies catching the bird, if your daughter Lucy will set open the door of the cage? Lock it. If men were answerable for the follies and frailties of their wives and daughters, no friends could keep a good correspondence together for 2 days. It's an unkind of you, brother, for among good friends, what they say or do goes for nothing. Enter a servant. Servant. Sir, here's Mrs. Diana Travis wants to speak with you. P.Chum. Shall we admit her, brother Lockett? Lockett. By all means, she's a good customer, and a fine-spoken woman, and a woman who drinks and talks so freely will enliven the conversation. P.Chum. Desire her to walk and exit servant. P.Chum. Lockett, Mrs. Travis. P.Chum. Dear Mrs. Di, your servant one may know by your kiss that your gin is excellent. Mrs. Travis. I was always very curious in my liquors. Lockett. There is no perfumed breath like it. I have been long acquainted with the flavor of those lips, and I, Mrs. Di. Mrs. Travis. Fill it up. I take as large draughts of liquor as I did of love. I hate a flincher in either. Erxel. A shepherd kept sheep, see. Music. In the days of my youth I could be like a dove, fire, love, see, like a sparrow at all times was ready for love, fire, love, see, the life of all mortals in kissing should pass, lip to lip while we're young and a lip to the glass, fire, love, see. But now, Mr. P.Chum, to our business. If you have blacks of any kind, broad and of late mantas, velvet scarfs, petticoats, let it be what it will, I am your chap, for all my ladies are very fond of mourning. P.Chum. Why, look ye, Mrs. Di, you deal so hard with us, that we can't afford to give the gentlemen who venture their lives for the goods little or nothing. Mrs. Travis. The hard times oblige me to go very near in my dealing. You be sure, Of late years I have been a great sufferer by the Parliament. £3,000 would hardly make me amends. The act for destroying the mint was a severe cut upon our business till then. If a customer stepped out of the way we knew where to have her. No doubt you know Mrs. Coaxer, there's a wench now, till today with a good suit of clothes of mine upon her back, and I could never set eyes upon her for 3 months together. Since the Act 2 against imprisonment for small sums, my lust thereto hath been very considerable, and it must be so when a lady can borrow a handsome petticoat, or a clean garment, and not have the least hank upon her. And, on my conscience, nowadays most ladies take a delight in cheating, when they can do it with safety. Peachum. Madam, you had a handsome gold watch of us t'other day for 7 guineas. Considering we must have our profit. To a gentleman upon the road, a gold watch will be scarce worth the taking. Mrs. Trapes. Consider, Mr. Peachum, that watch was remarkable, and not a very safe sale. If you have any black velvet scarfs, they are a handsome winter wear, and take with most gentlemen who deal with my customers. 'Tis I that put the ladies upon a good foot. 'Tis not youth or beauty that fixes their price. The gentlemen always pay according to their dress, from half a crown to 2 guineas, and yet those hussies make nothing of bilking of me. Then too, allowing for accidents, I have 11 fine customers now down under the surgeon's hands, what with fees and other expenses. There are great goings out, and no comings in, and not a farthing to pay for at least a month's clothing. We run great risks indeed. Peachum. As I remember, you said something just now of Mrs. Coaxer. Mrs. Trapes. Yes, sir. To be sure, I stripped her of a suit of my own clothes about 2 hours ago, and have left her as she should be in her shift, with a lover of hers at my house. She called him upstairs as he was going to Marylebone in a hackney coach. And I hope, for her own sake and mine, she will persuade the captain to redeem her, for the captain is very generous to the ladies. Lockett. What captain? Mrs. Trapes. He thought I did not know him. An intimate acquaintance of yours, Mr. Peachum, only Captain Masheth as fine as a lord. Peachum. Tomorrow, dear Mrs. Di, you shall set your own price upon any of the goods you like. We have at least half a dozen velvet scarfs, and all at your service. Will you give me leave to make you a present of this suit of night clothes for your own wearing? But are you sure it is Captain Masheth? Mrs. Trapes. Though he thinks I have forgot him, nobody knows him better. I have taken a great deal of the captain's money in my time at second-hand, for he always loved to have his ladies well dressed. Peachum. Mr. Lockett and I have a little business with the captain, you understand me, and we will satisfy you for Mrs. Coaxer's debt. Lockett. Depend upon it, we will deal like men of honor. Mrs. Trapes. I don't inquire after your affairs, so whatever happens, I wash my hands on. It hath always been my maxim, that one friend should assist another, but if you please, I'll take one of the scarfs home with me. 'Tis always good to have something in hand. Zineb. Ivid. Lucy. Jealousy, rage, love and fear are at once tearing me to pieces. How I am weather-beaten and shadowed with distresses. Excellent. One evening, having lost my way, see, mercy, I'm like a skiff on the ocean tossed, now high, now low, with each billow borne, with her rudder broke, and her anchor lost, deserted and all forlorn. While thus I lie rolling and tossing all night, that Polly lies sporting on seas of delight. Revenge, revenge, revenge shall appease my restless spirit. I have the rat's bane ready. I run no risk, for I can't lay her death upon the gin, and so many die of that naturally that I shall never be called in question. But say, I were to be hanged. I never could be hanged for anything that would give me greater comfort than the poisoning that slut. But, madam, here's Miss Polly come to wait upon you. Lucy, show her in. Enter Polly. Dear madam, your servant. I hope you will pardon my passion when I was so happy to see you last. I was so overrun with the spleen that I was perfectly out of myself. And really when one hath the spleen, everything is to be excused by a friend. Exilvary. Now Roger, I'll tell thee because thou wert my son. Music. When a wife and her pod, as she sometimes, no doubt the good husband as meek as a lamb her vapors to still, first grants her will, and the quieting draught is a dram. Poor man! And the quieting draught is a dram. I wish all our quarrels might have so comfortable a reconciliation. Polly. I have no excuse for my own behavior, madam, but my misfortunes. And really, madam, I suffer too upon your account. Lucy. But, Miss Polly, in the way of friendship, will you give me leave to propose a glass of cordial to you? Polly. Strong waters are apt to give me the headache. I hope, madam, you will excuse me. Lucy. Not the greatest lady in the land could have better in her closet, for her own private drinking. You seem mighty low in spirits, my dear. Polly. I am sorry, madam, my health will not allow me to accept of your offer. I should not have left you in the rude manner I did when we met last, madam, had not my papa hauled me away so unexpectedly. I was indeed somewhat provoked, and perhaps might use some expressions that were disrespectful. But really, madam, the captain treated me with so much contempt and cruelty, that I deserved your pity rather than your resentment. Lucy. But since his escape, no doubt all matters are made up again. Oh, Polly! Polly! 'Tis I am the unhappy wife, and he loves you as if you were only his mistress. Polly. Sure, madam, you cannot think me so happy as to be the object of your jealousy. A man is always afraid of a woman who loves him too well, so that I must expect to be neglected and avoided. Lucy. Then our cases, my dear Polly, are exactly alike. Both of us indeed have been too fond. Exilvary. Oh, Bessie Belle. Polly. Of course attend that woman's love, who always would be pleasing. Lucy. The pertness of the billing dove, like tickling, is but teasing. Polly. What then in love can woman do? Lucy. If we grow fond they shun us. Polly. And when we fly them they pursue. Lucy. But leave us when they've won us. Lucy. Love is so very whimsical in both sexes, that it is impossible to be lasting. But my heart is particular, and contradicts my own observation. Polly. But really, Mistress Lucy, by his last behavior, I think I ought to envy you. When I was forked from him, he did not shew the least tenderness. But perhaps he hath a heart not capable of it. Erclate. Would fate to me Belinda give? Mercy. Among the men coquettes we find, who court by turns all womankind, and we grant all their hearts discern, when they are flattered and admired. The coquettes of both sexes are self-lovers, and that is a love no other whatever can dispossess. I hear, my dear Lucy, our husband is one of those. Lucy. Away with these melancholy reflections. Indeed, my dear Polly, we are both of us a cup too low. Let me prevail upon you to accept of my offer. Come, sweet lass. Music. Come, sweet lass, let's banish sorrow till tomorrow. Come, sweet lass, let's take a chirping glass. Wine can clear the vapors of despair and make us light as air. Then drink and banish care. I can't bear, child, to see you in such low spirits, and I must persuade you to what I know will do you good. I sighed. I shall now soon be even with the hypocritical strumpet. Bakes it. Polly. All this wheedling of Lucy cannot be for nothing. At this time too, when I know she hates me. The dissembling of a woman is always the forerunner of mischief. By pouring strong waters down my throat, she thinks to pump some secrets out of me. I'll be upon my guard, and won't taste a drop of her liquor, I'm resolved. Re-enter Lucy with strong waters. Lucy. Come, Miss Polly. Polly. Indeed, child, you have given yourself trouble to no purpose. You must, my dear, excuse me. Lucy. Really, Miss Polly, you are as squeamishly affected about taking a cup of strong waters as a lady before company. I vow, Polly, I shall take it monstrously ill if you refuse me. Brandy and menthol, women love them ever so well, are always taken by us with some reluctance unless 'tis in private. Polly. I protest, madam, it goes against me. What do I see? Mercheth again in custody. Now every glimmering of happiness is lost. Drops the glass of liquor on the ground. Lucy. Since things are thus, I'm glad the wench hath escaped, for by this event, 'tis plain she was not happy enough to deserve to be poisoned. Enter Lockett, Matcheth, Peachum. Lockett. Set your heart to rest, Captain. You have neither the chance of love or money for another escape, for you are ordered to be called down upon your trial immediately. Peachum. Wait, assist! This is not a time for a man to be hampered with his wives. You see, the gentleman is in chains already. Lucy. O husband, husband, my heart longed to see thee, but to see thee thus distracts me. Polly. Will not my dear husband look upon his Polly? Why hadst thou not flown to me for protection? With me thou hadst been safe. Early. The last time I went o'er the moor. Music. Polly. Hither, dear husband, turn your eyes. Lucy. Bestow one glance to cheer me. Polly. Think with that look thy Polly dies. Lucy. Oh, shun me not, but hear me. Polly. 'Tis Polly soothes. Lucy. 'Tis Lucy speaks. Polly. Is thus true love requited? Lucy. My heart is bursting. Polly. Mine too breaks. Lucy. Must I? Polly. Must I be slighted? Matcheth. What would you have me say, ladies? You see this affair will soon be at an end, without my disobliging either of you. Peachum. But the settling this point, Captain, might prevent a lawsuit between your two widows. Erlai. Tom Tinkers, my true love. Matcheth. Which way shall I turn me? How can I decide? Wives, the day of our death, are as fond as a bride. One wife is too much for most husbands to hear, but two at a time there's no mortal can bear. This way, and that way, and which way I will, what would comfort the one, other wife would take ill. Polly. But if his own misfortunes had made him insensible to mine, a father sure will be more compassionate, dear sir. Sink the material evidence, and bring him off at his trial. Polly upon her knees begs it of you. Alas, I am a poor shepherd undone. When my hero in court appears and stands arraigned for his life, then think of poor Polly's tears for all. Poor Polly's his wife. Like the sailor he holds up his hand, distressed on the dashing wave. To die a dry death at land is as bad as a watery grave. And alas, poor Polly! Alack, and well a day! Before I was in love, oh, every month was May. Lucy, if Peacham's heart is hardened, sure you, sir, will have more compassion on a daughter. I know the evidence is in your power. How then can you be a tyrant to me? Kneeling, or live? Anthe the lovely, see, when he holds up his hand arraigning for his life, will think of your daughter, and think I'm his wife. What are cannons, or bombs, or clashing of swords? For death is more certain by witnesses' words. Then nail up their lips that dread thunder lay, and each month of my life will hereafter be May. Lock it. My chef's time is come, Lucy. We know our own affairs, therefore let us have no more whimpering or whining. Berlove. A cobbler there was, see. Music. Ourselves, like the great, to secure retreat, when matters require it, must give up our gang, and the reason why, or instead of the fray, in Peacham and I, like poor petty rascals, might hang, and like poor petty rascals, might hang. Peacham! Set your heart at rest, Polly. Your husband is to die today. Therefore, if you are not already provided, 'tis high time to look about for another. There's comfort for you, you slut. Lock it. We are ready, sir, to conduct you to the Old Bailey. Erlai. Bonnie Dandy. Music. Matcheth. The charge is prepared, the lawyers are met, the judges all ranked, a terrible show. I go, undismayed, for death is a debt on demand. So take what I owe. Then farewell, my love, dear charmers, adieu. Contented I die, 'tis the better for you. Here ends all disputes, the rest of all lives, for this way at once I please all my wives. Now, gentlemen, I am ready to attend you. Exeunt Matcheth, Lockett, and Peacham. Polly. Follow them, Filch, to the court. And when the trial is over, bring me a particular account of his behavior, and of everything that happened. You'll find me here with Miss Lucy. Exit Filch. But why is all this music? Lucy. The prisoners whose trials are put off till next session are diverting themselves. Polly. Sure, there is nothing so charming as music. I'm fond of it to distraction. But alas, almost seems an insult upon my affliction. Let us retire, my dear Lucy, and indulge our sorrows. The noisy crew, you see, are coming upon us. A dance of prisoners in chains, see. Scene V, the condemned hold. Matcheth in a melancholy posture. Erlevi. Happy groves. Music. Oh, cruel, cruel, cruel case. Must I suffer this disgrace? Erlevi. Of all the girls that are so smart. Music. Of all the friends in time of grief, when threatening death looks grimmer, not one so sure can bring relief. as this best friend a brimmer. Drinks are late. Britons strike home. Since I must swing, I scorn to wince or wine. Rises, earl, Chevy chased, music. But now again my spirits sink, I'll raise them high with wine. Drinks a glass of wine, earl, see. Too old, so Simon the King, music. But valor the stronger grows, the stronger liquor we're drinking, and how can we feel our woes when we've lost the trouble of thinking? Drinks, else I. Joy too great sorrow. If thus a man can die much bolder with brandy. Pour us out a bumper of brandy, else I. There was an old woman. So I drink off this bumper. And now I can stand the test, and my comrades shall see that I die as brave as the best. Drinks. Relative. Did you ever hear of a gallant sailor? But can I leave my pretty hussies without one tear or tender sigh? Relative. Why are mine eyes still flowing? Their eyes, their lips, their busses recall my love, must I die? Elify. Green sleeves. Since laws were made for every degree, to curb vice in others as well as me, I wonder we had better company upon Tigrum tree. But gold from low can take out the sting, and if rich men like us were to swing, within the land, such numbers to string upon Tigrum tree. Jailer! Some friends of yours, Captain, desire to be admitted. I leave you together. Enter Ben Budge, mad of the mint. Matt Chef. For my having broke prison, you see, gentlemen, I am ordered immediate execution. The sheriff's officers, I believe, are now at the door. That Jemmy Twitcher should peach me, I own surprised me. 'Tis a plain proof that the world is all alike, and that even our gang can no more trust one another than other people. Therefore, I beg you, gentlemen, look well to yourselves, for in all probability you may live some months longer. We are heartily sorry, Captain, for your misfortune. But 'tis what we must all come to. Matt Chef. Peachum and Lockett, you know, are infamous scoundrels. Their lives are as much in your power as yours are in theirs. Remember your dying friend. 'Tis my last request. Bring those villains to the gallows before you, and I am satisfied. Wheeled out. Jailer! Miss Polly and Miss Lucy entreat a word with you. Matt Chef. Gentlemen, would you? Exeunt Ben Budge and Matt. Enter Lucy and Polly. Matt Chef. My dear Lucy, my dear Polly, whatsoever hath passed between us is now at an end. If you are fond of marrying again, the best advice I can give you is to ship yourselves off for the West Indies, where you'll have a fair chance of getting a husband apiece, or by good luck, 2 or 3, as you like best. Polly. How can I support this sight? Lucy. There is nothing moves one so much as a great man in distress. Elfie. All you that must take a leap, see. Lucy. Would I might be hanged. Polly. And I would so too. Lucy. To be hanged with you. Polly. My dear, with you. Matt Chef. Leave me to thought. I fear. I doubt. I tremble. I droop. See, my courage is out. Turns up the empty bottle. Polly. No token of love. That chef. See, my courage is out. Turns up the empty pot. Lucy. No token of love. Polly. Adieu. Lucy. Farewell. That chef. But hark! I hear the toll of the bell. Chorus. Oh dear old law, see. Jailer. For women more, captain, with a child apiece. See, here they come. Enter women and children. That chef. But 4 wives more. This is too much here, tell the sheriff's officers I am ready. Exit my chef guarded. To them enter player and beggar. Player. But, honest friend, I hope you don't intend that my chef shall be really executed. Beggar. Most certainly, sir. To make the peace perfect, I was for doing strict poetical justice. My chef is to be hanged, and for the other personages of the drama, the audience must have supposed they were all either hanged or transported. There. Why then, friend, this is a downright deep tragedy. The catastrophe is manifestly wrong, for an opera must end happily. Peter. Your objection, sir, is very just and is easily removed. For you must allow that in this kind of drama, 'tis no matter how absurdly things are brought about, so you ravel their run and cry a reprieve. Let the prisoner be brought back to his wives in triumph. There. All this we must do to comply with the taste of the town. Peter. Through the whole piece you may observe such a similitude of manners in high and low life, that it is difficult to determine whether in the fashionable vice, the fine gentlemen imitate the gentlemen of the road, or the gentlemen of the road the fine gentlemen. Had the play remained, as I had first intended, it would have carried a most excellent moral. It would have shown that the lower sort of people have their vices in a degree as well as the rich, and that they are punished for them. To them, my chef with rabble, see. My chef. So, it seems I am not left to my choice, but must have a wife at last. Look ye, my dears, we will have no controversy now. Let us give this day to mirth, and I am sure she who thinks herself my wife will testify her joy by a dance. Oh. Come, a dance, a dance. My chef. Ladies, I hope you will give me leave to present a partner to each of you. And if I may without offense for this time, I take Polly for mine. And for life, you slut, for we were really married. As for the rest, but at present keep your own secret. To Polly. Elfie. Lumps of pudding, see. Music. Thus I stand like the Turk, with his daughters around from all sides, their glances his passion confound, for black, brown, and fair his inconstancy burns. And the different beauties subdue him by turns, each calls forth her charms to provoke his desires, though willing to all, with but one he retires. But think of this maxim, and put off your sorrow, the wretch of today may be happy tomorrow. Chorus. But think of this maxim, see. Finest. Printed in Great Britain by Richard Clay Sons Limited, Bungay, Suffolk. Errata noted by transcriber. Inconsistencies dramatis personae. That of the mint, the name is spelled here and on the character's first entrance, but everywhere else, the place name is spelled randomly with and without a hyphen. There is no illustration at the end of Act I, Scene I. spelling and change their X, whose treasure is contraband. The hypocritical strumpet, punctuation or capitalization unchanged. Dear wife, be a little pacified, don't let your passion of rich brocade. That, I see, is disposed of. You had a handsome gold watch of us t'other day, but are you sure it is Captain Matcheth? But to see thee thus distracts me. See, the stronger liquor we are drinking. About the music. The following information is also given in the text file. And the music, Part 3. The music in the printed book appears to be a handwritten copy of the 1765 original, retaining or adding assorted minor errors. In particular, the use of double bar lines or repeats seems to be almost entirely arbitrary. In the PDF and MIDI files, obvious errors such as missing dots after notes have been corrected, and a few ties have been added. Repeats are used only when required by the lyrics as printed. All music files including the PDF images are in Part 3. In addition to individual airs, there are PDF files containing the collected songs for each scene that has more than one song. The final song has been omitted because it takes up a complete page by itself. Changing the tempo. If you want to change the tempo of a MIDI file, do this. Install the Lilliput program free from Lilliput. Or open the file you want to edit named in the form. Using the same Roman numerals as in the text and scroll down to the bottom. Make moment. Line works just like a metronome setting. Leave the second number alone, usually a four-quarter note, and make the first number larger or smaller. Run. Type set file. From the compile menu, this will create 3 files in the same location as the original. Live file and updated MIDI, a new PDF, and a postscript. This file. You may keep the postscript file or delete it, they are automatically generated, but were omitted from this project Gutenberg text because they are very large and are easy to make on your own computer.